Well, Tana, why don't you go ahead and start, and you can start talking about the book. And I'm actually really personally interested in your experience writing and publishing. So if you want to talk about that a little bit, I'd love to hear about it.
I will. I'm happy to. Um, so, Anne, I know you've met Bernie, and I hope she'll be with us here within the next 30 minutes. But Bernie and I have known each other for years. I'm a registered nurse, actually a family nurse practitioner, and I met Bernie when I first became a registered nurse in 1992. Um, she offered me a position at the Health Wagon, which she was a founder of the Health Wagon in Dickinson County, Virginia. But we've known each other for years. And, beginning maybe 5 or 10 years ago, even, I said, Bernie, have you written your book? Because I knew she had a lot of experience and a lot of stories that, people would be very interested in hearing. And she'd say, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So in 2018, I had the opportunity to do a presentation in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so I presented a talk about interprofessional education at the Sigma Theta Tau International Nursing Association conference there in Dublin. So, in preparation for the presentation and the conference, I knew Bernie had trained in Dublin. So I connected with Bernie, and I actually wanted her to go to Ireland with me, and I begged, and she would not. But I said, I'll be there, and I'll just be there 3 or 4 days. Um, we'll have a great time, that type of thing, trying to sell the trip and all this stuff. But anyway, she said, No, I'm not going to go, but I'm going to make sure that, some of my friends know you're there and you're well taken care of and that type of thing. So my sister went with me. So my sister and I went to Dublin, and Bernie gave me a phone number to call when I got there. So on the day that we had free, I called one of Bernie's friends who also lived in Dublin, also a member of the Medical Missionaries of Mary. And she asked me what I'd like to do. I said, Well, she said, I can take you to the beach. I can take you to see the sights. You just tell me what you'd like to do, and I'll take you anywhere you want to go and show you anything you want to see. And everything she said just wasn't interesting to me, really. I can, and then she said, Well, would you like to spend the day in Drogheda at the mother house where Sister Bernie trained and came to live with us? So many years ago, I said, Yes, that's what I would love to do. So she picked up my sister and I, and we drove from Dublin to Drogheda that day, and we spent the day in Drogheda at the mother house where Bernie did her training, and we got to see the hospital is not there, but we got to see the mother house, and the outside of the building is immaculate. It's beautiful, and we just got to see where she trained and worked and lived that time. And I got to meet a lady named Jude Walsh. Jude Walsh actually came to um, Southwest Virginia before Bernie did. So I got to meet her. She was in her 90s at the time, and I think she just celebrated her 96th birthday. And Bernie celebrated with her on Zoom. So from Droida to Klitschko was a celebration of a medical missionary of Mary in her 90s. So that was so exciting to see that
Wow.
and be part of that. But Jude Walsh, she was very interesting. Um, I also got to meet a classmate of Sister Bernie's, Elish. Um, she was very, you know, when it was like when you have a baby. You go visit people when you have a baby. Oh, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Well, all in the mother house, everyone I met, well, where's Bernie? Is Bernie with you? No, I'm sorry. She's not with me. But that was one of the best experiences of my life, being there and seeing where Bernie was able to do her training. So, Bernie entered the Medical Missionaries of Mary as a young woman, um, almost immediately after she graduated from high school. And she traveled, she did some training in Boston before she traveled to Droita and did her training. So it's really unusual for a young woman to travel so far away from their family and do their training in Droida. And then after 2 or 3 years of training, I'm thinking she can confirm that for us later. And then she traveled to Africa to work. Um, so there are a lot of really nice pictures in the book, and she has some really nice stories to tell about those things. We talk about cross intercultural education and teaching students how to interact with people of different cultures. And sometimes when I hear people talk, it seems like it's something that we have invented, but this type of education has been going on for years. Maybe we didn't have a name for it or didn't recognize it as such, but I know Bernie told me when she first went to Africa, before she could even interact with other people, she had to learn Swahili. So she was in language school for weeks before she could even go into the hospital. And she still can speak some Swahili and recognizes that language. Um, so when I came back from Ireland, I visited Bernie that fall. I said, Bernie, we've got to write your book. And I was not going to take no for an answer that time. But we did move into it a little cautiously because if when you meet Bernie, you immediately know you know it. Um, you don't tell Bernie what to do. She's got to make the decision.
Yeah.
So I thought I've got to ease her into this. So I said, we've got to do this, Bernie. I said, well, let's just start on Sunday evenings. Let's just, meet on Sunday evenings and talk about some things that you would like for people to know and things that you'd like to share, because Bernie's a wonderful teacher. And we've talked a lot of times about how important it is for young healthcare professionals who are coming into the profession of care and caring for people that we live with and people that are in our area or anywhere, how important it is for care providers to actually care about the people they are
Yeah.
providing health care to and for. So, understanding how important it is to know the community, ways that you can get out into the community and treat that patient in a holistic manner, knowing the things that are happening to families and communities and how that affects individuals that you're caring for in your office is real important. Those type things to know and to understand. But that was how we were able to get her, or I was able to get her to say, yes, let's write this book. And we are aimed at and geared toward telling stories that will help other healthcare providers and students and service related disciplines to care for their patients, to care for their families, to care for their communities where they live and where they work. So outcomes will be much better. So we'll have better outcomes and communities will be healthier and happier places to live. So that was really what I think convinced her to, yes, let's write this story. Let's write this book. So after, several Sundays, Bernie goes to Mass on Tuesday and Saturday. I go to Sunday church. Baptist Church. Bernie's Catholic, of course, as part of the Medical Missionaries of Mary, is a Catholic uh, women's organization, the Medical Missionaries of Mary. But on Sunday, after I attended church, I would go to Bernie's house, and we would eat lunch. We would talk about stories that she wanted to share, things she wanted to share. I got my laptop out and I just type away while she talked, mostly. Um, Another thing I wanted to share was that when I was in Droida, the mother house, let me back up a little bit. The Medical Missionaries of Mary are all over the world. They're providing health care all over the world. They have service areas in numerous countries. And while I was at the mother house, they have a room that is dedicated to that service work that they do. So my sister and I was walking through that room that talked about the beginnings of the Medical Missionaries of Mary and the service work that was going on in all these countries. And then I came up on a house and I said, well, that's Bernie Kenny's house. And I had a picture of her house right there. And they said, oh, yes. They said, we have a huge commitment in Southwest Virginia through Sister Bernie Kenny and through her work with the Health Wagon and bringing health care to the people, for the people. And so that happened while we were in Georgia, and they had a lot of literature about the Medical Missionaries of Mary, a lot of things that had been written, and that was one of the things that I thought was real important. You know, when Sister Bernie is no longer here, when I am no longer here, we still have in black and white the work that was done here, and something that will help guide others do work and maybe inspire somebody to do work in other places. So, after meeting on Sunday evenings for several months, um, we said, yes, we're going to put these stories in book form. And we did. We were able to get a publisher that Bernie knew through another friend. And we were able to publish the book, and took 2 years. 2 years of Sunday afternoons, and it didn't seem like work, though. I mean, the relationship we developed, it's just invaluable. And so, and we still work, we still talk, we still work on some things. Right now, we're working on resilience, of course. We presented on resilience, and certainly during this pandemic, there's nothing, I don't think, more important than resilience among our care providers, our EMS workers, just everybody involved in this pandemic. So that's kind of how the book came to be. Um, we we're real proud of it. She didn't want her picture on the front page. She chose a picture that one of our local photographers had, and I think it's really beautiful. So I'll take any questions that you have.
Yeah, I just find it utterly fascinating, and I absolutely loved your presentation on resilience. I am not a medical professional, but I have lots of friends that are, and I think that right now, with the pandemic and the pressures that they are under, that this type of story that Bernie has told is far more important for them even now. So have you had any experience with talking with anybody, about any of the things that are going on right now that you feel like maybe Bernie might need to, do another book, or, like how has that experience been as a nurse, and talking with other nurses and practicing?
Yes, good question. And a thought that I have about that is that we've talked many times about being with. The book's titled Better for Being with You. And what we had thought about was how better now do we recognize the importance of each other and how important our relationships are with other people. And how have we been able to establish those relationships and maintain them through the pandemic when no one could travel? The recommendation was to stay home. Not everybody has the internet, but we do have the telephone. Most of us still have a telephone, FaceTime, that type thing. So, better for being with you. I think no other time like the present do we recognize how important that is, being with one another. Someone said, I'm not sure if it was Bernie, but someone said everything that God made was not meant to be alone, to be by itself. Everything was meant for something or someone else. And um, I think that's true. I mean, um, I think we all need each other.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. And to the point of the book of being able to have that community makes you able to treat someone better. I think that's got to be so hard right now when you can't have that connection with patients. Like, how do you treat somebody when you can't have that connection? I just admire nurses and doctors that are able to just keep treating their patients the best they can. But I could see how that could be so hard. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it was like to actually like final going with the publisher and doing all of that? Or how did that work for you all? Did you have to do a lot of editing? How did you compile the book? What was your idea? I know you typed when she would tell you stories, but how did you string it all together to a final finished piece?
Honestly, we had some excellent editors. One of those was my nephew, Josh Fleming. He read through the book and he said, "Oh no, this does not work. It doesn't follow." And he took he took color coded pencils and he said, "This needs to go here and this is next and this is next." And then the book will carry through better. The book will, how do you say, sound much better. And enter Bernadette
Oh,
Kenny.
Sister Bernie. Hello, Sister Bernie.
So my nephew was one editor. My dissertation chair, Joy Walks, was another editor, and she put the finishing touches on there. And she is just excellent. So we had multiple editors. We started editing from the beginning. Thank you, Bernie. This is my Easter present. Beautiful.
Oh, nice. Lovely.
So we had multiple editors. And another thing, honestly, nobody can do anything good by themselves. And I've learned that over and over and over. So after multiple edits, we were able to send to the publishing company, to the editor. And the form of the book was not as he could use it. So what I was able to do was to contact the librarian at the University of Pikeville where I work, and I'm so thankful to her. Her name is Edna Fugit. She was able to work through the entire text and put the text in a form where he could use it and publish it. And we just had so many people to help us with the book in the beginning. Uh, we first had oh gosh, what was that lady's name from ETSU?
Sharon Trumley.
Sharon Trumley. She came and read for us. The very first, she was our very first editor, and her suggestions were just absolutely wonderful. We've had so many, and we cannot forget Adriana Trigiani. Bernie and I went to one of her readings of one of her books, and Bernie said, Bernie knew the Trigiani family from years ago. And of course, Adriana knew Bernie, and Bernie whispered in Adriana's ear and said, "Would you write the foreword to our book?" And Adriana said, "Sure, send it to me." So uh, it everything came together real quickly there after we got the forward from Adriana, and then we got the book to the publisher, and it was just real quick. All of a sudden, he said, "We'll have it for you,
In a month.
in a month." So it was available on Amazon real quick. So we were really happy about that. I hope I answered your question, but the important things are editing. Uh, you know, um, Lots of folks are happy to help.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so that answered it. I was interested about that process because I'm assuming it was a first book for both of you.
That's
That's
correct.
right. And Tanya did a marvelous job of putting the first person through the book without making it me, me, me.
See, that was the funny part, Anne. I've got to tell you this.
Uh-huh.
So I wrote the book in first person because I wanted it to be Bernie's voice. That was my intention the entire time, 2 years of that.
Uh-huh.
And then there at the end, Bernie says, "Well, I don't want my name to be as an editor. I just want you to be the editor. You wrote the book. You wrote the book." I said, "Bernie, this book is in first person, as in you're saying these things. We, you know." And then that took another, I don't know how long, to convince her that it's okay for her to be the author of this book.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They're your stories. Just because somebody typed them for you doesn't mean they're not yours.
Yeah.
I know.
Wonderful. Well, Sister Bernie, it's so lovely to see you. We've been talking with Tanya. I have a question for you. What out of the book, what is your favorite story that's in there?
I just in preparing for this evening, I looked at the book again and lots of memories came up. But I thought the reflection questions at the end capture the essence of the book, and especially for anybody starting out, if they wanted to pursue those questions, they would have a wonderful outline for giving themselves purpose. You know, it's so easy to dream and then not be able to make it a real purpose. So the questions at the end is my favorite story.
Wonderful. Well, I haven't had a chance to finish the book. I have been doing nothing but conference for quite some time now, but I have a copy and I'm looking forward to reading it. But from talking with you all and what I've had a chance to look at, seems to me that a lot of that doesn't just apply to nurses.
No,
That
it's
this is a book about just living in a society and the connections of community. So I think there's a wider audience than just medical professionals for this.
I believe that, yes. It's much more than a professional. It's about life, big and real.
Yes, yes, yeah, I like that. It's about life. Well, Tanya was telling us about how you studied in Ireland, and I am just blown away by that. I was supposed to have gone to Ireland for the first time last May, and of
Oh,
course that didn't happen because of COVID. I'm just imagining what that must look like, and to be able to experience that. So, what was your favorite part about living and studying in Ireland?
and the connections of family are very real, and they're honored in the Irish culture, pretty much like here in Appalachia, too. It's a common thread, who's your granny? Who's your daddy?
Oh, yes, wonderful. Oh. What was your favorite part about writing the book?
And the talking and the changing, we would kind of work on a topic during the week and then get together on Sunday. And so much of it was similar, but some of it we knew we had to pare it down and get rid of it. So, and we didn't have any fights. Imagine that.
That's impressive.
We almost had to fight over the authorship though, because I said, Bernie, are we going to have to write this book again in a different voice?
Oh yeah. Oh
Uh,
my. Oh my. Well, what do you all think about another book together? Do you think you might do another one? I'm sure you've got more stories.
well, we have, and we're working on the theme of resilience, especially during COVID, of how people bounce back and what gives them motivation and how we can encourage resilience in one another, not to just go under and feel sorry for ourselves.
And that's a valuable lesson right now.
It's very topical, that's
It,
for
it really
sure.
is. It really is. You all, I think, kind of almost predicted that people would need these things. Wonderful. Oh, so Tanya, you said you are a nurse. When did you become a nurse? How long have you been a nurse?
I've been a nurse since 1992.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, pretty good while. But I learned something new every day about nursing
And
and
that's
just about,
practice, or you just teaching?
well, I'm a family nurse practitioner and I work for part-time as a family nurse practitioner and I teach at the University of Pikeville. My students are RMBSN students, so they're registered nurses and they are in the clinical setting. And one of my things that I do for them is we have Monday night Zoom. They're not, their program is 100% online. So
Oh
they
wow.
could go through the entire program and I never meet them. But I do Monday night Zoom. I started that last year with COVID because students were very, how do you say, anxious. You know, are we going to be able to finish our program? What's going to happen here? So, I set up a Monday night Zoom every Monday night for students to come on if they wanted to, if they could see me, ask me any questions they wanted to. Of course, in the meantime, they could text me or call me if they wanted to, but Monday night Zoom has been so very good for me and for these students. I mean, the students will get on there and they'll talk to each other and support each other and uplift each other. Some of these students are working in these COVID units and they've been working like maybe 5 nights straight, and they'll get
Yeah.
on there and they'll be almost in tears and they'll say, oh my gosh, I've had such a horrible week. And another nurse will say, oh, it'll be okay. This is what I do to get through the week. And it's just been great, that Monday night Zoom. I really
That's wonderful.
um, enjoy it, and I hope the students do too. But I hope I answered your question.
You did absolutely. One of my lifelong friends is she is the nurse at the hospital here, and she has had to work the COVID floor many times since all of this. And she has a tendency to be too hard on herself, that she should handle it better. And I'm like, keep telling her that she needs to give herself a little grace, and understand that it's okay to be upset and it's okay to struggle with it. So I'm glad that you're setting that up for your students, because I can only imagine that the stress that they are feeling, with that practice. Um, and then on another personal note, I'm going to get a copy of the book, I believe, for my niece who is in nursing school. So do you all have suggestions for nurses that are in nursing school? And I think it might be a little more terrifying for them right now, the thought of becoming a nurse, looking at all of this. From your years of experience, do you have any tips or suggestions for what they should be thinking about as they're in nursing school right now?
self-care. You
Wonderful.
have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. And some of us have to learn what that means. You know, some of us do not realize that we do have to do things for ourselves. And we do need to know how to do that, don't we, Bernie?
That's right. That's right. And just one day at a time. Even through COVID, we didn't get the worst every day. It
Hmm.
was spaced out.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. I think that then that's good advice for all of us right now.
Oh, yeah.
And your niece in nursing school, she doesn't have to be perfect. None of us are.
No, just
I'm
do the
trying to tell
best.
her that.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but you got to keep working toward that. You got to keep working toward the best you can be, but
Yeah,
you do not have to be perfect.
she was straight A's all through high school, all her life, and then nursing school. She's like, I'm gonna get a C, and I'm like, that's okay.
It is okay. It is okay.
So I said I'd rather you know something and then worry about your grade. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, do you have a favorite story from being a nurse, either of you?
Mm. Oh, Bernie's got stories.
I know that.
Be ready for a surprise. The biggest surprise, I had a man come on the health wagon and he said, I need you to wash my eye. And I didn't, I thought it would be just a simple procedure. And he went back in the back room and he took out his glass eye
Oh, no.
and he wanted the socket washed,
Oh no.
which is much bigger than what I
Yeah,
was
oh my
prepared.
goodness.
But
That's a little shocking.
you rise to the occasion.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't think I could have been a nurse. I just don't think I could have done it.
You do what you have to do.
Well, I believe that. I raised two boys, and when they would get hurt, I could turn it on. But other times I was so squeamish. But if they got hurt, I did what I needed to do.
That's right.
And I'm not sure how far you are in the book, but Bernie used to do home births. When she
Oh
came to
wow.
Central Appalachia, she had already did hundreds of deliveries in Africa, and she did some home births here in Central Appalachia when she first came. And she was called to a home one night to help with help a lady who was preparing to deliver. But after Bernie got through the dogs and finally made it up to the lady's house, there was no light, and she couldn't drive all the way. I think you had to walk part of the way.
Oh
And
my
finally,
goodness.
when you got there, I think you actually drove her to the hospital.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
And it was the first baby. And
Oh
usually they take longer than what
yeah.
the mom thinks.
Uh-huh.
5 minutes after we got to the hospital, she delivered.
Well, at least it was done and over. Oh
Oh,
my. Yes, my best friend's mom was a midwife, and she did a lot of home births. So I grew up, being very familiar with that. So yeah, so she had some good stories too. So some out the holler births.
yeah.
Mhm. Some of Bernie's patients may have lived just, 4 or 5 miles from her, but that 4 or 5 miles might take 30, 40 minutes to get there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the way it is here in our area, and yours as
Yeah.
well, I think.
Yes, it is. It is. You measure getting somewhere not by the distance, but by the time it takes to get there. So
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
it's very Appalachian.
Mhm.
Oh, wonderful. I think that's all the questions that I have. I really just deeply appreciate you all doing this. And I wish we would have had a few more people to attend, but this is recorded. And so we will be able to share that with everyone, and you all will be able to share it with whoever you want as well, too. As I said before, it's a public event. And so we'll have the link up next week. I'll let you know when it's up there and send you a link so you can share that around with your friends and whoever you want. If you want to promote the book, some more, absolutely do that. And I hope that you all, definitely do that a second book or at least something with the resilience, because I think that's very much needed in my opinion. Do
Mhm.
y'all have anything else you want to share?
No. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hope to see everyone in person maybe next year.
Yes.
Very much so. Very much so. I'm looking forward to seeing people in person, being able to give out hugs and, just
Oh, yeah.
a whole new experience.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.